Hello and welcome to the Easy Allies podcast. I'll be your moderator, Brandon Jones. Joining me this week, panelists Michael Damiani.
Yo, how's
Brad
it going?
Ellis.
Hi.
It's going very well, Damiani. Thank you for asking. My ray tracing co-moderator, Mr. Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
Distinguished guests, we are here to talk about some of the biggest events in the world of video games. But before we do that, we must first answer for all of the mistakes that we made last week. Begin corrections music, please, Daniel Bloodworth. Boop. Nintendo had analog LNR buttons on the Wii Classic controller. Digital ones on the Classic Controller Pro. But wasn't like the actual controller that came with the console. It's an extra controller. We were talking about the GameCube controller. The Shadow of War mobile game was shut down on June 6th, 2019, unfortunately. I talked about the future version of Hulk. That is a future version of Hulk, but it has a name, Maestro, which I did not know.
Oh.
Didn't dig too deep onto the Wikipedia page, but that is a very specific character. It's not just a weird-looking Hulk. 3-4 big things, not 34 big things. 3-4 big things. It's all one word, all smushed together. I said 34 big things. It's 3-4 big things.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a developer is one of the people that Embracer Group picked up.
Oh.
That's like Kingdom Hearts style.
I was going to say, yeah.
Okay.
When we put the numbers 3 and 4 together, that's not 34. Get it straight. This is from Warcry Games on YouTube. Jones says 2020 is an odd year, when in fact, it's an even year. And corrections music, please. Ba-dum-ching. And update, Abby Light got their Twitter account back. Yay!
Yeah,
Oh, right, yeah.
No idea why. It went away
Yeah.
while it came back, but, you know, all's well that ends well. Speaking of, I always try to open these podcasts as positively as I possibly can. Happy Gaming is going to help me with that this week with a possible silver lining in the world of video games. In an attempt to improve work-life balance and create a more flexible and diverse work environment, Square Enix is introducing an optional permanent work-from-home option. It's optional. Quote from them, rather than utilizing work from home solely as a means of preventing infections from the current pandemic, the company will establish it as a permanent and core program among the working styles it accommodates, Square Enix stated in an official release. In doing so, the company hopes to not only create a flexible and diverse working environment, but also further bolster productivity and help employees achieve the optimal work-life balance. There's got to be a negative side to that. I think that sounds a little too good to be true. It's like, yes, but how does that benefit Square Enix? There's got to be some way that they're like, we can bank on this. But I'm curious how that's going to affect just the whole industry. It can't just be Square.
Yeah.
It's going to think like, we'll
Yeah,
probably
they're
do
not
that.
the first that I've heard. So
All these employees are like, do I really need to come in the office? They all win. Speaking of winning, The World Ends With You sequel announced. Neo, The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You is a game, Brad, that you have talked about a lot. And it is a game that you reviewed, Bloodworth.
Yeah.
Originally came out on the DS. The World Ends With You Final Remix launched on the Switch in 2018. Some games I have not played but still have a grasp of. I got nothing on this game, and because you two are experts, take it away. You know what? I'll start with you, Brad, just because you got the passion. You know, like, are you?
I mean,
and you played the Switch version recently too.
yeah, I didn't get to play a ton of it, but The World Ends With You was like a super interesting setting for the time, especially it was like Shibuya and Tokyo. It's like Nomura art. I think it's a lot of the Kingdom Hearts people. I know Nomura didn't direct it; he was a producer on it. But anyways, Jones, it was like a action RPG that utilized both screens on the DS. So the bottom screen would be like, I think it was the face buttons or the stylus, I think actually, Blood. Pretty sure it was the stylus. And the top was the D-pad, and you'd fight at the same time with both of these systems. It was like a really weird,
I think
interesting
you controlled one character with the D-pad and the other with the stylus.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
The top and the bottom at the same time, and you like did different things at the same time. It was just like a really weird concept at the time, and almost an overwhelming thing, but actually once you start playing it kind of clicks. Just like a really gave it like it reminded me of Jet Set Radio kind of, just the style of it. Not cell shaded, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
But yeah, it's very it's got just that very urban flavor in terms of there's a lot in there with fashion, like a lot of your ability are tied to like pins, you know, like the kind of pins that you put on your backpack.
The clothes. There's like your armor.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is just phenomenal and very unlike most Japanese soundtracks or pretty much anything. Like it's a very unique score which I think they probably, they collaborated with a lot of Japanese artists and stuff on that. And you can hear they brought some of those guys back for the sequels. Like when they pop that in, it's like, that sounds like the old song, but it's not.
Yeah, same vibe. It's just a feel-good moment, Jones, I think this is a game like me and a lot of people kind of gave up on ever seeing a sequel of.
Yeah.
Like they appeared in Kingdom Hearts in
one
game.
It's the kind of game that doesn't really
I didn't know that.
feel like it necessarily should get a sequel, so that's why it was, it's a very encapsulated story. It has an ending essentially. So it's curious, for one, do I need to go back and refresh myself, play this game again, and get caught up on all of this craziness? And then, two, how is it going to tie in? We've got all new characters. We're looking at 4 leads, it looks like. Obviously, it can't control the same way the original game controlled.
Yeah, it's 3D now.
It's totally
combat,
3D. Which I'm split on. It looks all right, but I feel like there is something about having those sprites that we're
the sprites
moving
are great.
more and more away from throughout the whole industry.
The 2-screen thing was a really unique aspect of that game, so I am curious how they'll handle combat now. That's just one.
And then the story, the thing is the story really worked and hit me well when the original came out. Now just seeing the story beats that they had in the trailer, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this a little bit. It's more familiar to me.
Yeah.
So
I assume the setup will be kind of the same as the first game.
Yeah.
In this game, you're like, how did I get here?
But seeing sharks pop out of the ground and Shibuya.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be a weird game.
And then Jones, did you see the hilarious controversy that popped up that morning after the trailer dropped?
And I'm glad that you mentioned it because I love hilarious controversy.
So, and I've only heard of this third, fourth hand, right? Just people were talking about other people and just this circle of rumor nonsense across the internet. But basically, supposedly there was this faction of Persona 5 fans that were talking about the game ripping off Persona 5.
Oh yeah.
And it's
was that real? I thought everyone was joking. Maybe they weren't.
I don't know. And,
I feel like
then there was this wave of backlash. They're like, hey, dummies, that this game came out before Persona 5 and was set there, the original game was, and was already set there, and it's a real place, Man,
internet's dumb.
Well, it's a bummer if they upset these people because this is probably a game they would enjoy. This is probably something a vibe that they would feel in sync with.
But anyways, it's like I said, it's the playing telephone rumor kind of thing. I never saw anyone originally tweeting that. I just saw the people making fun of the supposed people. But that's actually kind of goes back to one of the things that one of the reasons I ended up connecting to the first game is it came out not that long after I had first gone to TGS with game trailers. And so I had actually been to Shibuya and to a lot of these places, and even looking at the trailer for the new one, it's oh yeah, this stuff, it all it feels familiar. It's I know that street, So it's pretty cool.
Damiani, did you check out the DS game?
No. So I feel bad. This is a series that constantly gets brought up. It's a series that a lot of people who've played it are really passionate about and have wanted for something new to come. The 2018 Switch version was, a nice gesture, but throughout this year they've kind of been teasing. There's the anime, right? That was the first thing that was teased, and then there were rumors about there's going to be another game or something, and this comes about. And yeah, I feel bad now. I need to play at least the Switch version. I feel bad that I don't know if I'll be able to play the original version because of how unique it was. And I know that it wasn't preserved obviously on the Switch version. But yeah, this is I'm glad they're doing something like this. I'm glad they're giving they recognize, Square Enix that is, recognizes that they have series that are still popular even if they don't have more than 1 or 2 games or a game and a spin-off, that this is what they probably need to do. So yeah, I feel like I need to play the first one in preparation for this one because, I'm probably going to check this out now.
Yeah, sales are probably going to get a nice bump, I would imagine, of that first game. And I used to have the mindset that when we get a remake of something, like Crash Bandicoot style, that they're just kind of testing the waters to see, like, would these people be interested in a sequel? And then the sequel goes into production. But these are so soon, like 2018. Like, I don't know if that's time. I mean, this doesn't have a release
date.
It's
not that bad. I mean, they probably were already in pre-production when the thing released, and then it was just a matter of like, okay, you know, is this solid enough to go forward with? You know, because I imagine there's a lot of games like that. Where, you know, like they get the concept and all this stuff down, and then, you know, based on whatever focus testing and stuff, it either gets a green light or it gets a thumbs down. So
it's like the last piece of the puzzle is like, will people actually care, like, if we re-release this thing? Because you were saying, Brad, you're like, this game's going to be weird. Is that what your expectations are set? Like, what do they need to do to pull off something that you think is going to make fans happy for the next game?
Oh, I mean, it has to have the same style and the same vibe as the first game. Like Blood was saying, the city, the culture of that game, it has to be intact. Like what we've seen is on the mark, especially with the music, is like it's falling in line. I think if they went like a completely different tone and style, then people would be pissed. I think the combat is probably the most risky thing because it's just different. It could be awesome. I have no idea. Yeah, it's gonna have to be. So that's maybe the one thing that people could be concerned about.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the combat was really fast paced.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, part of that was juggling both screens at the same time, and it was like, you know, you're like tapping on the D-pad and swiping around with the stylus and keeping track of all that. So I think it's really, for it to capture that same sense with a different control scheme, it's going to be about pace and energy and just feeling like those, you know, hits come really fast and that you have like a lot of combinations going on.
Yeah, I think the pins are back. I think I saw
the pins are definitely in there. Yeah,
which is great. Like, you gotta have that.
But I'm curious with the 4 characters how that all is going to interplay.
If you'll be doing all 4 of them at once or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Blood, do you get excited? You're familiar with this franchise, but when this happens, when you know, a franchise is brought back, something you didn't think that you were going to get a sequel, is that attractive to you? You know, as an outside observer of like, oh, maybe I should, like Dami was saying, maybe I should play the old game, or maybe I missed out on this if it's something that Square thinks is valuable enough to bring back.
Oh, I mean, yeah, for sure.
Just in general.
I mean, of course, this is one that I was, you know, I am familiar with, so I'm interested just on that end. Like I said, I was a little bit skeptical just in the sense of, you know, will a sequel feel like it's tacked on or not, you know, or that it's being like fan servicey or because it felt like a one-off unique story. And so anytime you take that and you turn this into a franchise, it's like, well, this might not work. It might have been better as a singular story. But I'm definitely optimistic, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Jones, like, when they put these characters in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, I was like, oh man, dude, Nomura's not forgetting these guys, okay? And that was so long ago. And then once again, I never thought we'd get anything. But now it's here, baby. And in the summer, it's coming up.
Yeah. And PS4 as well, Switch.
Yep, so, Switch, PS4, yep.
Yeah, it's just positive vibes. And I'm just curious to see what Square's expectations are, because we, you know, Square's had some ups and downs this year. We talked earlier on the podcast where, you know, Final Fantasy VII, big up, Avengers, big down. And they were like, no, 2021, just wait, it's going to be big. So I'm curious what their expectations are for this. Do you think they're really going to bring in a lot of new... Do you think that they expect to bring in a new audience for this, or is this mostly
I'm sure they're expecting some new, but I'm sure this game was much cheaper to make, too, than Avengers. So I'm sure their bar is not as high.
Most games are.
Yeah.
I guess I'll mention that IGN reported Avengers still hasn't made their money back. I wasn't going to mention it. But yeah.
They haven't done anything to bring any money back. You're still waiting on your first characters, right?
True. Yeah, it's mid-September.
It got a price cut, and somebody tweeted it. Broke my heart. They were like, I can't believe Avengers got a price cut before it got its first character. It's like, no. Right, I'm that wrestling guy in the stadium where I'm like, it's real to me, damn it.
It's okay. It could come back.
I still enjoy.
It could.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
It needs to be No Man's Sky, not Anthem, basically.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was thinking Rainbow Six Siege, but it's not that competitive. It is more of a No Man's Sky situation.
Oh yeah, Rainbow. I don't think Rainbow Six ever had a hard time. Like Rainbow Six has just been killing it.
Though, I mean now, but I mean it's much more. You know, I think it's much more lucrative now, or has much
I don't
more
know.
staying
I think
power.
they hit it out the gate.
The investment they made in it was
but
not a mistake.
Sure.
But I'm sure I'll get corrected on that next week. We are in the next gen. I call it the current gen. I only call it next gen via this podcast because it's clickbait. I just want people to go and put it on the thumbnail just so people will click on it and watch because everybody's talking about it. And we kind of touched on this last week, but I feel we need to talk about these consoles breaking, man. These, like, we're having a little bit some console woes. And I'm curious, this first one, I'm going to talk about PlayStation, then we can talk about Xbox. They're both having issues. Have you heard of the PS5 download queue bug?
Where
this is
I don't know.
prominent,
Just
I
fails?
guess.
No.
Yeah, you download a game, you set it, and then it brings up the queue. It says 0%. It stays at 0% forever. Like if you try to re-download the thing, it's just not going to happen.
No.
And a lot of people are like, you got to kill everything. You got to dump everything off of your PS5, completely start from scratch.
Jeez.
Not with your profile, but like.
Wow.
And
Right,
I haven't
yeah.
heard of this. We have had our fair share of issues with the PlayStation 5. But this
I
is a
got
new
plenty
one.
we could talk about.
We'll get to them. But yeah, it's interesting that I haven't heard that just for myself or in the team. No one's really shared that. So
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
haven't
new to
had
me.
that.
I
That
have
one.
noticed that like it's not auto updating for me. Like
the firmware or games.
games. So like a lot of times when I just like turn on my PS5 out of rest mode, it'll be like, all right, it's downloading a Demon Souls update. And I'm like, why didn't you already do that? Why are you telling me that now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought that's what rest mode is for.
I guess it doesn't download the system updates in the background either. I was playing a game, and when I finished and closed it, it actually popped up saying, "Hey, you have a PS5 update. Would you like to do that now?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure. I guess I don't know if it just default sets to not interrupt your gaming experience, or it just may right now it can't do, as you said, like it can't do updates when it's in certain modes or something. Like if it's in the middle of a game, it'll just stop. I don't know."
We just noticed you died for the 9th time in Demon Souls. Would you like to update your PS5 right now? Because you want to take a break.
Would you like to delete
yeah.
the game?
Yeah, I got to turn notifications off because we're capturing footage for review, and it's just like Fortnite's updated, Avengers is updated. Like, okay, thanks. Yeah, a lot of that stuff will happen automatically.
Yeah, it hasn't happened to me as much lately, but Astrobot for some reason was like shooting out notifications for the leaderboard stuff, and I'm like, okay,
All the
chill
time.
out, Astrobot.
All the
Chill
time.
out.
Back to challenge runs and stuff. Someone beat your time. Do you want to fight back or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, no.
Like
You
leave
don't
it
have any,
alone.
you don't have any
Yeah.
rivals in Astra?
No.
Yeah, it's no Sackboy rivals. So I want to speak for two people that are not here. Ian Hank had Miles Morales crash in the middle of a cutscene, and one character was like, "Do you want to hear what I have to say?" And then like nothing, and he was like, "I guess you don't." It's like,
Yeah.
I guess I don't get
Oh,
to hear what
man.
you have to say. Ben had a heck of a time with Miles.
interesting.
Ben had to like restart his playthrough at a very specific point in Miles Morales, which thankfully did not happen to me when I was reviewing it. But
Yeah.
just every time he would restart the game or restart a save
Interesting.
and get back to this point, it
It
would.
only crashed on me once, and it was after I beat the game. I was trying to do a specific challenge for a certain crime thing, because you have the conditions to meet
Yes.
as a trophy. So I needed to defeat X amount of people with a gravity device. Yeah. So I toss it from the side of a building, like 5 stories up, at a giant group of enemies, and as soon as it hits, this game crashes, and I'm like, okay, guess the gravity was too much to
Right.
handle for the system.
Yeah, Damiani, the Miles crashes that I've had are all super tame. Like they're literally, I'm just walking down the street, or swinging, or like in a cutscene talking to somebody. It's like you don't get a sense of. I almost feel a kind of sense of pride when it's just like the huge explosion, big light lens flare, and it's like I can't take it anymore. The console
Yeah,
dies.
I've been
I don't
lucky
get that
in
gratification.
mine so far. A game I am currently reviewing, I was going into a spot to an area, and it crashed during the loading screen. I was like, oh no, like where's my checkpoint? When I jump back in, it actually put me after the loading screen in the next spot. So I was like, oh, thank you
yeah.
so much. Lucked out there.
nice.
Brad, what issues have you been having?
Oh
with
my
PlayStation
God.
5
Okay.
that you haven't talked about on this
Okay.
podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Regale us.
we got Kristen's PS5 recently. Okay. So I'm helping her set that up. That thing just resets the OS if there's not a game open. If we have a game open, it's usually okay. But if you don't have a game open, it just goes screen black, reset the OS. You're back at the home screen. No matter what you're doing. We just tried to hop in and play a game, and it resets immediately. So it's a race against the clock to get a game open before you can do anything.
That's a customer service call. Like that, you can't keep going with that. That's nuts.
It's bad. But it's like, why does it work with just a game open? I don't know what the deal is.
I am such a fan of the path of least resistance. It's like I'll just leave a game open. I don't want to be on call with customer service. I'll deal with this. That's what I respect about you, Bud. You're definitely a customer service person.
Well, most customer service for this around now is probably just going to be like, well, just wait for a patch. They'll patch that.
Oh God!
You need to talk to them first because they sometimes they're going to do that, or they'll walk you through steps to basically like. You might essentially have to wipe the PS5 and,
Did that 3 times.
Yeah. But there might be other things, instructions, because, like, stuff like in safe mode and all of that.
Yep. I did everything I could online. I looked at everywhere.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though. It's like if you're just looking online, like, you're not going to get everything that they could tell you through customer service. So.
Brad, I'm going to need an update before the next podcast. Whether or not you called customer service. I'm going to be checking in on you.
I'm just saying, there's been a lot of times in this company where we've had issues that like, oh, that could have just been fixed.
No, my PS4, the disk drive on my PS4 still does not work. Does not load DVDs and discs and stuff. And I was like, the next generation is going to be soon.
I remember my Switch died when I was in the Splatoon 2 review. I had to have that turnaround.
Brutal. And the Switch did have issues, but like, is this just what happens with the console turnover, or is this? And we'll get into Xbox in a second, but this feels weird. It feels rushed. It feels like they're not steering the wheel. It feels like there's just a lot of.
It feels like there's more than usual for sure. But there is also the amplifying effect of the internet, to where, the worst issues bubble up and seem like a bigger problem than they might actually be in the the grand scheme of things. But I do think that there's been an abnormal amount of just like general crashes and stuff. I've gotten lucky to where like the crashing is stopped for me, but I had one night where like Demon Souls would just keep crashing on me a few times. And then Call of Duty was crashing on us during group stream.
I feel like it's gotten worse as they've patched some things.
Right, because I didn't have issues until the first patch I got, and then that's when it started.
I got one crash during Miles in my review, but it was like I was up, kicking a guy into the air while a bomb was going off, and so that made sense. So it's like, okay, you never want, no one should ever forgive console crashes.
Demon Souls didn't crash once when I reviewed it, so but now I'm hearing everyone else is crashing like every time.
Is this reputation damaging, or like, come on?
No one's gonna care in a year.
No one's,
Yeah.
It really depends on how long it lasts. Yeah, like if this stuff is all cleaned up, like by Christmas or even by the 2021, then it's gonna just go away. But if it's if we continue to see issues like did you have on there? Did we talk about this last week, or I don't remember if this happened after? But the quick resume on Xbox Series X has been problematic.
I know you're in a hurry to dunk on Xbox, but we can get to that. That is the primary issue, that people are having. Which brings to the question of how important quick resume is. It's like, is this something that Microsoft's gonna be like, actually? So we still don't know what games really do it. It's not on the box. It's not something that
they should all do it. That's the thing.
Not.
It's like yeah. So some of them start off. I mean, it's like when I did the stream on launch night, like I was gonna show off Red Dead quick resuming, and then it didn't, and like it did before. Like I did this like 15 times. Like what happened?
Right. What were you saying, Brad?
Oh, I was gonna say, Jones, you're talking about people like this damaging their reputation, and I was just like, you guys remember the Xbox 360, the Red Ring of Death?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I totally forgot about that just till you asked me that question.
That's the worst thing ever.
And I was like, people aren't going to care after a while. Like, it didn't hurt Xbox. It doesn't hurt Xbox right now where they're at. That's for sure.
I'm trying not to draw connections with what I imagine was a very, very stressful year trying to get these consoles out, dealing with shipping and dealing with employees working from home and all of that stuff. But it's hard not to at least just kind of like generally make that assumption, because we're not really going to get definitive answers on a lot of this stuff.
I think the other issue with this, in terms of talking about damaging reputations, is right now I feel like most of the things that I've heard about feel like operating system issues, essentially. You know, like software bugs that like, oh, you can patch it. I think that when you really get into like reputation damaging stuff is like Joy-Con drift. You know, it's like, oh, like the only way to fix this thing is to send my console off to get, you know, repaired or replaced. And like, that's always more of a nightmare. Even if it's a quick turnaround, you know, like I get a Nintendo product back and within a week, but it's still like, that's a week that I can't do anything with it.
But that's Nintendo eating its own lunch. If you're Blue Point or you're From Software and you're getting all these reports of people playing Demon's Souls, are like, man, this thing's crashing right and left. Are you like, hey, you're like, are you mad? You know, like, do you know, where's the pressure coming from? You know, if you're an executive at Sony, how angry are you at designers right now? Or are you just like, they're buying them, you know? Don't worry, we're breaking records.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Probably a little both, honestly. Like they're like, we should fix this as soon as we can, but we're doing great.
They are doing great. Sony is doing so great. Scalpers are having a wonderful year.
Oh yeah.
A UK-based scalper group called Crep Chief Notify told Business Insider its 12 members had collectively purchased close to 2,472 PS5 units in recent weeks, plus just under 1,000 when pre-orders first opened in September. Brad, tell me about that.
It's just like, man, just people just buying consoles to sell them for more, man. It's like, yeah, you can like do that. It's legal, but it sucks for people who honestly just want to buy it to play it.
What do you think, Damiani? Is this life?
It's only legal if you're doing it for, you know, your own personal reasons. I feel like that kind of coordinated effort, there might be some other shady things going on there that might need to be looked at when you're doing it at that volume. Like one person going out of their way, like camping overnight. It used to not be so bad. So here's the thing: it used to be not so bad. If you camped out at a store overnight, got a console or some high value product because you waited and stuff, like with everyone else, and then you came out and you bought it, people really didn't get angry at you if you went on like eBay and flipped it and stuff. But I think now, because with COVID, most people couldn't go into a physical store.
Right.
So everyone had to go online and deal with this. I think with the ease, it's way more frustrating to people when they don't get it. It also sells out faster. Like people don't understand a console, like it's gone in minutes. So this one kind of like sucks because I think it hurts a little bit more too, because of the nature that everyone's everyone's forced to have to do it this way.
Right.
There is no brick and mortar option this time around to just go walk in like, I could just go camp out overnight if I really wanted to get this. I have an alternative. Some people I think might have tried to do that at some places, but in general, it stinks. If you're just one person doing it by yourself, it just sucks when a lot of people do this and like people who buy tons of them for the sole purpose of doing this. Just wish the sellers, these storefronts would care more. A lot of them don't. They just made their money, so they don't care. And the whole the frantic nature around this and the FOMO behind it. People want to buy this. People buy it. That's also part of the problem, is people buying into this. And the frenzy it caused, the companies love it because like, oh, we're sold out. Like everyone's like wants more of these. Like we're doing great. It's I don't know. I don't like this. It's not just consoles. It's been happening a lot of things this past year, and I hope something gets done about it when it comes to online. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, because essentially what it's done is, you know, like if you had this issue where, okay, the store ran out, then okay, well, you can try around town. You know, there's gonna be like 36 more stores that you can check out, and maybe there's some place that people that don't think of, like a Target, right? Like people be like, oh, everyone went to GameStop and Best Buy, nobody went over to this Target on the other side of town, or like Sears or something like that. It's like some place that people don't expect to pick one up. And now with everything being online, it's like, okay, well, there's 6 places that you can get them, and if one of them's sold out in 5 minutes, then that there's not really you don't have another option. You can't call around. It's like, well, guess I'll just wait till there's another notification that they're gonna go up.
Exactly. I think the thing that sucks the most about this is that you have to be on call at such weird hours, and like it's just unknown. There's so many unknowns involved with having to track down one of these things, where it would be solved by simply having just like a queue system, not for waiting in line to buy one on a site like Sony has been doing and some other sites have been doing for when they're actually available. It's just let people sign up and first come, first serve. Even if they sold out on launch day, let's say Sony sold through like whatever, it's this 10,000 consoles, all they had to sell, they sell out of them. Instead of cutting everyone off, just say like, hey, you're after the last one. You will be like at a later date. We'll notify you when it's your turn. That's the peace of mind that like you're gonna get one eventually. That you don't have to keep refreshing a site like every 3 days or something. That's the crappy part that I think people just want. That would be the number one thing to do away with.
But that makes these companies that you were saying, Damiani, are doing so well, that potentially makes them less money because they kind of want the fervor. You know, they want it's in a strange way. It just makes the wrong people look good because like it makes, you know, Sony and Microsoft look good because there's a tremendous demand for these consoles. They're making as many. You know, they have the sympathy vote because they're trying. We're trying to make as many consoles as we possibly can.
But Jones, that's the thing though. Like it doesn't actually make things any better for them because either way, they're still selling as many as they would have sold, right? If these people are going out and scalping, it's because people are buying what they're scalping, which means that there are people that are paying whatever this price is, and so they would have paid the normal price easily. So it doesn't really, it doesn't make them any more, you know, because all of this is still getting sold. It's just, you know, has this like barrier, this in-between person that's just making pure profit because, you know, they can sit around and wait for these things to happen.
Yeah. I can only think of the reason maybe some stores won't do the queue system or something like that, and they do like this fervor, is because you see a lot of stores like Newegg, you see GameStop doing it, the bundles. They see that something sells out right away, and so when they start getting in new waves of stuff, they start attaching other products to it that you need to buy. Now, some of these, I would argue, the ones that come with like a game and an extra controller, like a Spider-Man or a Demon's Souls plus another controller, that's not the end of the world. But I see some of these bundles putting in like, you have to get a camera. And it's like, never one's gonna know, like, who wants the camera, or not that many people want the camera. Or they put the remote. They start putting in the ones that sell the least amount, just to get them, like, to make sure they sell their entire inventory out. And and that tax on money, and then you can't return that when you buy as part of a bundle. It usually says, I think, on the receipt. So, yeah, that isn't as bad as scalping, honestly, but that gets equally as frustrating that they're trying to attach that. But I mean, that's the same thing. Stores have to do what they can to survive as well, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating and annoying as a consumer.
And I just want to put out there that, you know, the four of us, or at least I can speak for myself, are of course very grateful that we have access to the consoles that we do. I got to shout out. You're both here. Shout out to Brett Ellis, Michael Damiani, for getting me my PlayStation 5.
Oh yeah,
and my Xbox Series X pre-orders. Currently playing Valhalla on my Xbox Series X. Haven't done quick resume, but it does load very fast. But I just imagine there's a lot of people who don't have PS5s that they're like, man, if I gotta play exclusively Just Dance on the thing and keep that app open the whole time to, you know, keep my PS5 up and running, I would do it, you know. So yeah, shout out to all the people that have not been able, you know, to pick up those consoles. But is there any Blood I have a couple silver linings before we finish this. I got some good news from both camps. But moving on to Xbox with quick resume, do you think, is that reputation damning, or is that something potentially Microsoft could just kind of walk away from and be like, you know what, we don't really know what kind of games it's going to work on. Just cross your fingers. If it works, great. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they've revealed enough about like what the actual technical nature of the issue is to really say what's going on there. I think it's odd because in terms of previews and all of that kind of thing and kind of the test machines, it just seemed like it worked and it was magic. And so to go from that into like, oh, it doesn't work on these games, and now it doesn't work on these games, and then it's like becoming more and more spotty, it does sort of put that doubt in your mind of like, okay, is this going to be the game changer that we thought it was, or whether they're like overreaching, or is this just some strange hiccup that, again, like they get it fixed by the end of the year and then we never think about it again? Or at some point do they say, hey, you know what, this is just not something that we can actually deliver on, and throw it out the window, and we equally never think of it again?
because I'm a glass half full gamer. You know, it's like I think about, but sometimes it's empty. I gotta be honest. Like I was sitting down to finish up Miles Morales the other day, or I was gonna play Assassins, and I had to play the food, and I'm like, oh, okay, while this is loading, I'll eat, and then I like put the plate on my desk. It was like I can't. And I was like, oh, I'll watch something on Netflix. Fine, I'll put off my gaming experience. I won't hear the Valhalla theme looping, 6 times. But yeah, I'm just curious. It goes from something, these fast load times are really great, but quick resume's something where I'm like, I can't tell if it's something I really wanted or if we were just kind of looking for what are they doing? What is different about these consoles? What is, having gotten hands on, what are the things that are really exciting about Xbox? If quick resume goes away, will you be sad, Blood?
A little bit. I think it really depends on the type of player you are, and how much stuff that you have going on at the same time, how much you bounce between games. But I think even even if you like aren't constantly bouncing between 6 different games, like if you play something for a few days and you play something else and then you go back, it just is really nice to just like. You just ride in the action. You don't have to sit through all of the junk at the top. So,
I just imagine people, Brad, just going after From Software and being like, "My Demon's Souls crashed," and they're like, "Hey, dude, we just made the game. Like we don't." Blue Point's like, I don't know what to tell you, like,
right, yeah.
Same thing with like people making stuff for Xbox. They're like Red Dead's like, Rockstar's like, hey, if you can't quick resume it, call Xbox. But things are looking up. Today, Sony tweeted. We want to thank gamers everywhere for making the PlayStation 5 launch our biggest console launch ever. It's so hot right now. The biggest console launch ever for these companies. Very hot. Demand for PS5 is unprecedented. So we wanted to confirm that more PS5 inventory will be coming to retailers before the end of the year. Please stay in touch with your local retailers. Thanks for that. Here's the thing. In 2013, Andrew House said the PS4 had sold 2.1 million units in just over 2 weeks. Later, PlayStation echoed a quote from the DFC Intelligence, from DFC Intelligence, who confirmed the PS4 was the biggest launch in the history of game consoles. So, we're not taking bets on this, but they beat 2.1. How much do you think they beat it by? They didn't say.
Right.
But they told us the number before.
It'd be like 2.3.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 2.3.
2.11.
2.3, 2.2.
That's 0.2.
Yeah.
It's not a small amount of money. And for Steam users, if you hadn't heard about this, PlayStation 5 DualSense is now in public beta testing for use with Steam.
Oh,
nice.
Because I know a lot of people were like, well, I didn't get a PS5, but got my DualSense at least.
Yeah.
I can close my eyes.
It'd be really nice if like the real features like get supported onto PC games that are cross-platform, so that like you get the trigger effects and all that kind of thing on PC versions. And for Xbox, Phil Spencer told The Verge, you are going to see a Xbox app for smart TVs in the next 12 months. Nice.
Which is so Phil. Phil is always just the curveballs from Phil. Like we just never, not something that I, would have told him that they needed to do. But Ian has echoed the sentiment a lot, where they're just clearly not, they're very focused and very proud of these 2 new consoles that they've released, but they're not putting all their eggs just in that one basket. Obviously, you get Game Pass for PC, and that's a tremendous value. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I don't know if that gives off Roku vibes. If anybody's buying a TV and they're like, "What's this Game Pass? I don't want this. What's this Xbox thing?" So hopefully things turn up for them. It just, Damiani, you've been through quite a bit of console launches. Now that we've discussed all these potential issues that are happening with both of these things, can we be optimistic for the stuff to get better? Are we gonna be waiting for like the stuff they promised to work before they add new things to these consoles, or does this feel different to you than consoles past?
Yeah. Well, like what Blood said earlier, I think maybe there's a little bit to it that the issue's a little bit more profound than the more recent ones, at least maybe the last 2 generations. I will say though, I am still looking down at my clock about how long it's going to take for me to use my expanded memory on my PS5. I have that hard drive just sitting over there in the corner, just waiting. Like, my PS5's pretty full. I would like to use that other hard drive. I checked any updates today for that? Nope. It's like, so the feature stuff. Yeah, I think that's also part of the thing with how big the games are. Plus, people carrying over their previous games and saves. It's just a little bit more apparent on, I think, both systems that you need a lot of space. The games have gotten really big in file size, though. Some good news is that some PS5 game versions are smaller in size than their PS4 counterparts. So there's some hope that maybe there's relief coming in not just more storage is needed, but they can reduce the storage space needed as of now because of game capacity. So we'll see. I don't know. As long as I don't have anything breaking, like the disk drives on the disk versions start like breaking down, and like that infamously happened before, and something like that, like disk read errors become prominent, or an Ethernet port start breaking, or something just stops working and it's like Joy-Con drift. I think Joy-Con drift was the most recent high profile one, as you said. And if they get something on that level, sure, but until then, this is just launch jitters for the system. It's just the kinks they're going to iron out, and as Blood said, I think by early next year, I think most of the troubles should be gone. It will become a question about features. What has been talked about that is not there yet, and how long is it going to take? Because this did also plague the Switch with people where are my save backups? Like Nintendo's way worse with that type of stuff, but anything you say is going to be held against you in terms of you promised this stuff, where is it? And there'll be those articles say a year later, where is this feature and stuff. So I do think that they only have so much time on promised features, but so far they're fine, I think.
Blood, for the podcast thumbnail, I like next-gen jitters.
Next-gen jitters. Yeah, that was good.
I was maybe going to go with next-gen woes. I like next-gen jitters.
Jitters, yeah.
Thank you for that, Damiani. And now, a word from our sponsor, HelloFresh. Get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door with HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. If you know me, I don't cook. I've said that many times. I am a broken record, absolutely. And this is the week to cook. I'm excited about eating Thanksgiving dinner. I will help do all of the dishes, and I will, of course, bring my sparkling personality to the conversation for Thanksgiving dinner. But having ideas about what to prepare, absolutely none. I think that's the biggest thing, is that I just don't have ideas. So something like this is extremely attractive to me. That's just like, boom, there you go. Shows up, you make it, you eat it, you get back to playing video games. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store. It makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. It's easy and stress-free. HelloFresh offers convenient, no-contact delivery to your doorstep for easy home cooking with the family. The recipes are easy to follow with simple steps and pictures to guide you along the way. HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning at grocery store trips so you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in about 30 minutes. It's great value. You can save 40% when you use HelloFresh versus shopping at the grocery store. Feeding the whole family has never been easier with lower prices for larger box sizes, so the servings means more savings. Just like file sizes, You pay less, get more. That's actually not how it works at all. HelloFresh delivers fresh, high-quality, pre-portioned ingredients so you can make meals that are delicious and nutritious. Over 90% of ingredients are sourced directly from growers to ensure peak flavor and ripeness. HelloFresh offers more than 20 chef-rated delicious options every week to help you break out of your recipe rut, try new things, and make every night feel special. There's something everyone will enjoy, including 20-minute meals, low-calorie, vegetarian, kid-approved recipes, and more. Go to HelloFresh.com/allies90 and use code allies90 to get $90 off, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/allies90 and use code allies90 to get $90 off. A wonderful value. Thank you, HelloFresh, including free shipping. And if you are a patron of Easy Allies, thank you. So, it's a stressful Gen crossover, stressful year, almost done. It's the end of November, almost made it through. Last podcast in November. 1 month left, and we're at the end of 2020. Good time to talk about mental health, I think. The Oxford University just did a study on video games and mental health. And I think this is fascinating, A. B, it's a light news week. And C, I was interested in this not because it's like the definitive study of video games and mental health. It kind of talks about less about its definitive findings and more about kind of the difficulty of talking about this issue. And it's something that we haven't necessarily addressed. And so I went through it as a jolly 19-page document, if you're curious to go check that out. And I want to toss some quotes at you and just kind of my general thoughts on these things, just for transparency. Quote, the research was supported by grants from the Huo Family Foundation and the Economic and Social Research Council, and by in-kind technical contributions by Electronic Arts and Nintendo of America. The funders had no role in study design, data collection and analysis, decision to publish, or preparation of the manuscript, and the authors declared no conflicts of interest. We surveyed players of Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, and Animal Crossing New Horizons for their well-being, motivations, and need satisfaction during play and merged their responses with telemetry data. Example, logged gameplay. I want to stop them there because, yeah, everybody playing Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, and Animal Crossing New Horizons is having a wonderful time. It's like, okay, Oxford, great test. Do the same thing again with Call of Duty and Overwatch, and let's see Doom. With Doom. I don't know. I think Doom's a nice release. You know,
Doom might
there's
be
not a lot of
okay,
multiplayer.
Competitive multiplayer game. Yeah.
It's really I think people. I mean, it takes a long time to get to people's islands, but other than that, I think you know, the mental health of people
some
playing
gacha
those
games in there. Let's look at that mental health.
Right. So not to just discredit it out of the gate, but I would be curious. Interesting seeing Electronic Arts and Nintendo of America pop up. I wonder if, I just imagine the phone call. Oxford gets them on the phone. They're like, okay, we want to do the study on mental health. Electronic Arts, give us a game. And they're like, Battle for Neighborville. You know, like, why don't you talk about that? Was that kind of, you know, was that a shady deal? Do you think, would this have been up to Electronic Arts? I wonder.
I think it might have been more the researchers approaching them to just maybe get permission to use.
Right.
If they wanted to publish the work, to at least clear it with them that there was like no issue or something. I don't know. I don't even know if they have to, but I think probably went that way. I don't think they asked the companies for a game like, which game can you give us? I think it was the other way around.
Like Animal Crossing, I get, you know, it's the zeitgeist. It's still going. You know, we have the holidays coming up. A lot of people are still playing this. But the Battle for Neighborville is such an interesting play.
Well, I think, and like, you know, again, maybe I don't know, like how well, you know, I don't know how well they know gaming or anything like that. You know, like in terms of genres and all of that kind of thing. But I think just in general, the franchise, right? Plants vs. Zombies is a game that you've heard a lot of people put a lot of time into, right? It is a game that has this addictive quality to it.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I think that might be sort of what they were going for. Is like, okay, these are games that we know people pick up and then they put a lot of time into. Whereas, yeah, Battle for Neighborville, maybe not as much as the traditional Plants vs. Zombies. But I don't know. It's
just good vibes, man. That game, that world's cool to be in.
Yeah.
So I can see why they'd pick it.
But I'm just saying it doesn't have, like, I could see them going for, you know, trying to see the addictive nature and effects on mental health, and Neighborville maybe not exactly fitting what they were thinking of in terms of Plants vs. Zombies in general. But I'm just speculating again.
Right? Yeah. How many pages you say it was? Like 16 pages?
19, yeah.
It's like 19. I think it's like 24 or something, but there's a lot of, you know, a lot of notes on the back end.
Preamble.
Yeah, a lot of references that you can check and other fun articles you could read. Didn't go that deep, but I did read the whole thing. And one thing that they stressed that was so important was transparency. You know, that they're like, you know, we can't do our jobs unless we know how well these games are doing, unless we you know have access to these things, have access to the information and all of these companies, and not just gaming developers and publishers, but all of the esports and, you know, all these people that are managing people that are playing these games for a living or you know, as a very dedicated hobby. Which makes me wonder, Damiani. So you are the head of you're the head of Nintendo. Congratulations.
All right. Sorry, Bled. You missed
No,
out.
Let's just work in there.
Took over.
Yeah, Bled's just Bled's doing the treehouse. Now, would you be scared to release this information? Do you want to, you know, and obviously, you know, if it's easy for you on this podcast to say that, you know, the right answer, which is no, I want to spread the information about mental health. I want people to get better. But from a business standpoint, would you be nervous? to really give them the raw numbers?
I mean, I think there has to be, at the very least, there's a little apprehension, but I think at the same time. So speaking as now I'm the head of Nintendo, so I'm looking out for Nintendo's best interest. I'd rather an independent group do something like this than a government-backed thing do this, because if they do it and then they make findings, they might want to pass legislation based on those findings. So an independent group doing this and just publishing its findings, it's something everyone can look at, and it probably by default is innocuous, and it's going to be useful information to us because now we can see they just provided us a lot of extra, like information about our users. Obviously, we have as Nintendo, we have tools to see what our users are playing on our own end. We can see what they're playing when they're connected online, and that only gives us so much information. This actually gets, extracts more data from them about their habits. So now we know how to maybe make future updates or future games that appeal to those sensibilities, and B, don't cross any lines, because we don't want to be known as the company that makes a game that's too addictive that it leads to like negative behaviors. We want a lot of people to play our games, but Nintendo, we're very cognizant of the well-being of our consumers. And we're the company that puts out messages that says every should take a break every 30 minutes. If the game's, having a hard time, maybe you should play it on an easier setting. We don't want people to get angry and unhappy with their games. We want them to be good. Hey, we made Ring Fit.
I was just going to say,
want people to stay healthy.
Is Ring Fit the cure-all?
Yeah, we want happy, healthy gamers, or consumers, sorry. And yeah, I don't really, unless it came out, I think they probably had an indication that this isn't going to be harmful. It's going to show a lot of information that we had no idea about. And so there's really no downside, I think, to this. And plus, they're like, I know they gave them money, but the money Nintendo would have to front to do this research on their own and get that access might have probably pales in comparison to just giving some money to these people to do it.
But Brandon, you said they gave in-kind donations, right? Nintendo and EA, they didn't actually give cash. They were basically probably just provided the games.
Yes. Yeah, but in-kind technical contributions by
Okay. Sorry. Never mind. I mean, then, yeah, that's even, but that's good. That's even less. Yeah, you're not really giving them anything. So that's a win there for them as well.
Brad, who do you trust the most? Oxford University, Electronic Arts, or the government?
Oh my gosh.
Government the least, that's for sure. I don't know.
Welcome to...
this is supposed to be $10,000 for that podcast.
Yeah, I know. That's a $10,000 question, Brandon. How dare you?
I'll say Oxford, I guess.
How dare you?
You mentioned policy, Damiani, and that's my next quote, man. Our results advance the field in two important ways. First, we show that collaborations with industry partners can be done to high academic standards in an ethical and transparent fashion, which I'm sure everyone agrees with. Second, we deliver much needed evidence to policymakers on the link between play and mental health. Daniel Bloodworth, do you think policymakers are listening? Do you think in 2020 this is
not
something?
Too many of them? Probably not. Yeah, but yeah, that's one of the things that always kind of like I always feel a little bit distant from these and take them with a lot of grains of salt. Is because I feel like these kinds of studies pop up all the time, and this one, I don't know, from what you presented so far, this one feels more reliable.
It's like a study of other studies, which I really liked. They mentioned what the work that a lot of other people had done, and kind of talked in a general sense about how difficult making one of these studies is, the challenges that they face.
Yeah. So yeah, but at the same time, it's like it's two games. It's not very broad at all.
Right.
It's and as you said, they probably talked a lot in there about like, well, how do you do the interplay between how much time somebody's playing a game and whether they're in an abusive relationship or they're overworked or they're whatever, how in the world do you pull all these different factors out and decide this is because they play video games a lot rather than they live in Wyoming and they go out horseback and riding every weekend. It's
right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Now, the problem with since the start of video games and obviously this goes back to video games and violence and trying to pin all that stuff after, you know, music was no longer the cool kid. It was video games. So now it's video games shot to, you know, be blamed for everything. The number one thing that always seems to be the problem in these cases or these research studies is that they can't prove non-spuriousness, which means they can't prove that the correlation between they only prove, like, I think there's three, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows, and if the comments, there's three things you have to prove, I think, and it's like correlation, time order, or something else, and then non-spuriousness, which is no other thing could possibly account for why this is happening in your research. And when it was video games and violence, it was like, as Blood said, these researchers did not have any information about, do these people have an underlying condition? What is their environment like? All these other unknown factors that an army, if this ever went to, you know, try to become something like, you know, policymakers and lawyers would go nuts on that, saying like, like you got to stop this. But that hasn't stopped. I think the thing is with this is that it's probably I feel like maybe there's some nudging from like either not even ESA directly, but like just the fact that they're members of the ESA, that the mandate is do stuff before someone does it for you. This is why like the ESRB was formed, so that we weren't regulated by the government for rating our game, because no media wants to deal with that. And so I think these types of actions, these types of studies, these things that they back is because they want to have this done independently. So, but again, yeah, like just the drawing conclusions from this stuff is always, it's like for people who are way smarter than me, and people have much, you know, a much more rigorous background in like stats and math that like can actually figure out what and then like, you know, research, who can do this type of stuff. And I took a few classes in college on stat and research stuff and research studies, and the number one thing every professor would always say at the beginning of each like class would be, or the first day of class would be, the number one thing you got to learn about research is that you're always going to need more research. That it's very hard to come to a conclusion. There's always going to be more research needed, and that's like just it's not that it's futile. It's just that know that one study isn't going to be the end all be all for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of years and a lot of different things to happen before people can start making meaningful conclusions, I feel like, about stuff.
That's how I feel when I finish one game and move on to the next one. It's like, I need more data, you know? I learned a bit. There might be more here. You know, I played Spider-Man already, but that remastered, I don't know. I got to get more info. Damiani, I think you're extremely smart because you keep pulling quotes before I have a chance to get to them. Literally, my next quote is, in recent years, researchers and policymakers have shifted focus from concerns about violent video games and aggression to concerns about the association between the amount or nature of the time people spent playing video games and well-being. And of course, but I never really thought about that like, thank goodness that dumb conversation's over with this direct correlation between violence and video games, where it's like, I'm not saying there's absolutely nothing there, but it is certainly not as intense as a lot of the people that have gone to bat or tried to change policy because of those things. But you're definitely hearing, of course, you know, all sorts of companies suing Electronic Arts over, you know, loot boxes and just this what is gambling, what is addiction,
addiction.
How, you know,
that's it.
Yeah.
You said the magic word there. Mm-hmm. That is exactly why this is going on, because violence. Yeah, the violence thing's been beaten to death. It didn't go anywhere, so now it's addiction. That this is a disease that it needs to be treated, and that it was, you know, I forget who said it was technically they wanted to classify it as like was it a mental disorder or a disease? Yeah. I forget what they wanted to do with it for video game addiction. And the day that happened, because it was in mainstream news, I had my parents call me and go, "Did you know that video game addiction is like a thing?" And like, they were like, they were like, "What do you like? Is like everything? Are you an addict and stuff?" I was like, "Really? Okay." Because it's my job. I was like, "So I'm an addict now because it's my job." That's like, this is the thing. But like, that's one side of it. The other side is that like gambling part of it, the gambling addiction with gacha, with loot boxes. Yeah. That is a little bit more serious. That is something that does prey upon people who have either, they have issues with that, and some of them cannot help themselves, and you're not giving them you're not creating a good environment for them so that they fall victim to their own vices, and that you really shouldn't be doing that. That's clearly exploitative. That's clearly taking advantage of people who need help. And that is, I think in that instance, it's right. And as you saw, there is litigation that's been happening because of that people want to take action on it. Whether it's for we really care about the kids and people, or hey, this is it's like violence in video games in the 90s. This is a hot topic. This is going to get headlines. It's attention grabbing. I need to make my move. It's probably a little bit of both with that.
Do you know your total Final Fantasy XIV playtime? I'm not saying that, I'm not saying there's warning signs here. I'm just saying it's a number you might want to have.
Look at Brandon Jones.
If you're doing stats, I know how much Final Fantasy XI I played. It was definitely more than 14. And that was, I think it was a month.
I was going to say, I hope, how much you talk about Final Fantasy XI, I hope you do that. I would say that there's two things. One, I mean, you can always say saying you're not an addict doesn't mean that you're not, admitting the problem.
And it is absolutely not something.
I think the number one thing always is why you still are able to do something about it is, before it consumes you, is this destroying my life? Am I losing my job? Am I losing my friends?
Yeah.
Am I losing my health over that? And I could, for that at least, I could say it's haven't crossed any of those lines. Like work and friends, when push comes to shove, those always come first and stuff like that. I won't say, to try and make some scheduling things work in the past. There have been times in the past I'm I can make this work. I can totally do this. I just only gotta sleep 2 hours tonight, and I can fit everything in a day. A little bit of that, it's a little excessive, but there are people out there who they spend their entire life fortune or too much more money than they have on this type of stuff, because they go for the whales, the people who will spend way too much more money on this stuff than they have, and then they lose their marriages, they lose their houses, their cars, they lose their jobs. That is the degree of where I think something needs to be done about that, and you need help. So yeah, if you're heading in that direction, you start saying if you're taking out the credit card one too many times, it's might be time to maybe ask a friend to take your credit card away, or ask someone for help for that.
Rock bottom is a term that comes up a lot in the addiction community, where it's kind of that is a eye-opening experience if you find yourself in that position. But I think we're doing okay. Your cats are very healthy, Damiani. I'm not concerned. This one line made me chuckle though, because it's. There were parts of this where I was like, wow, I can't wait to read this, because this is really smart people. It's there's not always smart people delivering news that I get to, bring to this podcast. But this one line, I was like, you could have just called me on the phone, I tell you that. Recent evidence suggests self-reports of digital behaviors are notoriously imprecise and biased, which limits the conclusions we can draw from research on time spent on video games and well-being. Basically saying if Electronic Arts tells you something,
right.
Don't.
Yeah, that's always a problem. Yeah, people don't want to admit to things. That's why people who write research questions have to be very creative and careful, I feel or for what I've been told, so that they know how to extract information without seeming too threatening, or that getting you to confess to something that you might be ashamed of, or something you don't want to admit. And that's why, welcome to, the political podcast, why people distrust polling a lot, because people won't be honest about what their intentions are. And you see things wait, all this was saying this beforehand, but it wasn't this? What? How is this so wrong? It's it's really hard. I don't envy a researcher's job. People who have to do this, that's seems like a nightmare. A lot of work, and when you're expected to be accurate, and when you're not, you get all the blame. What'd you do wrong? What was this? This seems like a freaking high stress environment.
That's why, again, I think it's a fascinating read, is because it doesn't say, we've, like you're saying, there's more research to do, Damiani. We haven't come to a definitive conclusion, but they do have a conclusion. Quote, policymakers urgently require reliable, robust, and credible evidence that illuminates the influences video games may have on global mental health. However, the most important source of data, the objective behaviors of players, are not used in scientific research. Instead, researchers have needed to fall back on asking players to report their behavior, a flawed approach which cannot effectively guide policy, just like exit polls. In this study, we show that collaborations with industry partners to obtain adequate data are possible. Research with this data can be done to academic standards ethically and transparently. We are optimistic that collaborations of this sort will deliver the evidence required to advance our understanding of human play and provide policymakers the insights into how they might shape, for good or ill, our health. And shout out to one of our patrons who brought this as silver lining. I kind of wanted to get into it more, but so the conclusions, more research to be done, but generally positive at the end of the day. We're gonna make it. Also, hopefully keeping the positive vibes going. We have a substantial international audience. A lot of people out there could care less about Thanksgiving. Maybe Turkey Day more. It's coming up in Animal Crossing. But I feel because it is a holiday that asks us to kind of look back, potentially at the year, because we are getting near the end of it, and figuring out what we are thankful for in our lives. Personally, obviously, we're thankful for a lot. Thankful for all of you wonderful patrons. But in video games, specifically, I've asked these three gentlemen to bring at least one thing that they are thankful for. Daniel Bloodworth, what are you thankful for in 2020?
Well, I mean, going back to all the discussion we had earlier, like I'm thankful that I actually got the things.
Sure.
You know, it's one thing to. I mean, actually, yeah, on that end too. Like, I'm thankful that Sony and Microsoft were willing to work with us and give us everything we needed on that end. But because there were times where like I don't know what's happening. I don't know if Microsoft is going to send us an Xbox or not. I don't know what Sony's plans are, and so it was nice for all that stuff to come together and for us to be able to do our coverage.
September was spooky.
Yeah.
We were a little nervous there for a while. It was a little dodgy.
And then, just like on the personal level, it's like, yeah, I was able to get pre-orders in, and I was able to get them filled, and my consoles arrived, and aside from, the little OS things, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with them. Damiani somehow magically ended up getting me not only a 3080, but the Founders Edition, which is one of the ones that doesn't have any issues we know of.
Lucky.
Whoa.
So wow. it's like, yeah. I have a huge pile of bills that I'm going to have to get through over the next few months, but
are we on that 3080 right now?
Yeah.
I'm looking through the
ray tracing
through the gaze
ray
of this
tracing.
wonderful, powerful beast of a machine. How do you actually turn that off? When you say it's in the options of Control, right? Because you said you booted up Control.
Yeah,
like,
it's just a game setting, like
I just stare at mirrors right now.
or something. Yeah.
Okay. Brad Ellis, what are you thankful for? 2020.
Oh man, you know me. I'm just glad Final Fantasy VII Remake was as good as it was, baby.
Yes, Brad.
From where that game started, the announcement of what we're hearing about that shit, it just came out the way it did. I was like, whoo, thank God. Thank you, Square.
I'm glad I lived to see it happen.
Yeah, we made it, dude.
I was like, is this gonna happen in my lifetime? Is this thing gonna be real? The joke is over. It is a real thing. And yeah, that being a spectacular experience. Love it or hate it. I mean, I loved it obviously, and it's like same exact feelings for that. So just extremely thankful for that. I got to like see those big gaming moments because they only come around like every so often, and like that's something I feel like you had to be. You can still enjoy and appreciate Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I feel like those who lived when it was out and grew up with it, that is a different perspective. So those don't come around very often.
Yeah, definitely a very personal thing for you and me, for sure.
I was also going to say thank you for ray tracing.
Oh, yeah, dude.
No, not really.
Those reflections, baby.
Ray reflections and lighting. That was definitely mine, too. But I kind of figured Brad was going to pick it. So
excellent.
That was definitely it. And I'm glad Next Gen happened. And it's been mostly pretty decent so far. That was a big fear of mine, is that they wouldn't come out this year. For the longest time, I felt like they probably maybe should have just pushed them back into next year with COVID, because the software wasn't gonna fall in line with the hardware anymore. And then are these gonna be ready to go, even with these delays. And yeah, it's nice to have it. I think, yeah, I don't know. I've seen people talk about how it's a little bit more. No, we're gonna keep this jolly. So I was gonna say people are saying it was like they don't feel the launch has been as big as previous years. But I mean, hey, the more console launches we go through, I think it gets a little less. It's still a big deal, but it gets a little less special each time because you've gone through so many of them.
Yeah, it depends on what point you're.
Yeah, and there's also the lack of physicality to it, right? It's like when all of your experiences. I'm refreshing a web page and then the thing shows up at my door. It's not as fun as going to a midnight launch party,
Yeah, talking with a bunch of people. I think also like the leap, like each generation we're getting it's like a smaller and smaller visual fidelity. We're talking about load times. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a real thing. Like going back and playing older systems now, when I was playing Hyrule Warriors, I was getting so angry at load times. It's like
Dude, I was thinking about that
it's
today
like
too.
1 week and I can't even go back to load times.
I got confused. I thought something was wrong because
I'm
editing the Valhalla review, and he replayed that on Xbox One, One X, and Series X. And the first loading screen it went to, I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, oh, some super long. This is Ivor's just standing there. Ivor's standing there in the, in the mist, as you do while you're waiting for it to load. You can run around. Brad, are you nervous about awards for Final Fantasy VII? Just curious. Do you have a
nervous about it?
Yeah. Are you hoping? Are you sad that the next Final Fantasy's too far off?
Look, Jones. What's important to me is what the most important thing to me is if I enjoyed it, and I did. Like if people enjoyed, that's awesome. But it pleased me, and I was happy about it. I'd be so bummed if I didn't like it, Jones. So not like it's cool to see it get nominated.
Yeah,
that's awesome, but no, it doesn't really bother me.
Michael Damiani and Brad Ellis, if it's getting a PS5 enhanced version, are you replaying it?
Of course.
Well, yeah.
Why would you even ask us that?
Running to that door, baby. As soon as they tell me the door's fixed, I'm gonna go there.
The door isn't fixed. They can't. I got a curveball.
Yeah.
In 2020, I am thankful for Pokemon.
Oh, do tell.
Pokemon brought me a lot of joy this year. Pokemon's been a really interesting thing to get involved in, and for it to bring me so much satisfaction, and for to be honest, I'm not that invested. I'm invested. It really kind of, this is just trash. I'm a trash human. I'm sorry. It really does kind of play to my commercial side. I do want to collect all these damn things. I do want to max out and just be super powerful in an RPG. There's a lot of things that Pokemon fans are like, no, Jones, that's not why you like, it's not what you're supposed to like Pokemon. I'm like, hey, I'll get into it for the reasons that I want to, get into it. But it's interesting when you get into a franchise like this that I just have not had a lot of experience in, how when you get introduced to a world, to a community like this, and then all of a sudden I got my godson who's 10 going on 11, who's just checks in with me, and he's like, how many Pokemon Go characters do you have, how many you got Sword, right? Okay, you have to. I feel bad. I carry guilt because I have not gone back to these zones to find these Pokemon that you specifically asked me for, and every time I see him I'm like, Max, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I haven't done it.
Oh man.
And just had a absolutely wonderful stream doing Silver with Bossman this year, and that was just
that this year?
Yeah, we finished it up. It ended.
Oh my god!
It ended in 2020. It ended.
Felt like that was 3 years ago.
I thought it was going to end in 2019, but Chat was hiding a sneaky secret the entire time. But when I just think about, obviously, Dreams was a big thing. It's been really fun getting into that community, but that speaks more just naturally to things that I am interested in. But it's been really interesting, feeling like I belong in this, in this community with this franchise, but also there's just so many different arms to it that I still feel connected to, and I don't know, it's just been jolly all around. Jolly vibes, that Pokemon franchise. Also, backwards compatibility. Shout out to all of, because I think it's jolly because it's there's all of these games that are going to get this wonderful second life. Just there's just so many wonderful things that I think it's going to be really fun when you have these announcements, when it's not necessarily the most earth-shattering thing that something is available now, for free if you have PlayStation Plus, or that is coming to Game Pass, or that we find out now works. blanks the time sweeper, like finally. But it's just fun to see people talking about this stuff. It's I think backwards compatibility, especially also for a while before next gen, we were like so nervous about it, and we were so potentially negative. It was just like, oh, you know, wish it would work, and such a bummer that the PS3 had such a different architecture that it's just this like this block, you know, in between the PS4 and all the previous generations. So I think we're in a pretty jolly place with that now. So that makes me happy at the end of the year. Good stuff. Smiles all around. Also this week, sorry, here's very depressing news. Smash Tournament The Big House canceled by Nintendo over Slippy, an unapproved rollback netcode. This poor tournament. Was this a friend code? Are you going to talk about?
No, though it might come up because I feel like people just want to talk about it. I think slight correction though on the headline. Nintendo didn't cancel the tournament.
Right.
They decided to cancel the tournament after they were given a cease and desist by Nintendo for using that stuff. Yeah.
And it was such a bummer because they you know, Big House normally does their tournament specifically with Melee. It's the thing that brings Melee online. And they were like, oh, well, we can't do it in person. We'll do it digitally. But in order to do it digitally, we need this netcode. And Nintendo's like,
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you see both sides of the situation, and it's just like, I don't know what to tell you. Nintendo's never gonna, never ever gonna let you do that kind of thing.
It's like those Metroid fan games. You're like, cool game, dude, but
and it's like they're not gonna re-release Melee. They're not gonna re-release it with rollback netcode. That's not happening.
It's somewhat of a divide between like console and PC space, but they're not gonna let you mess with their stuff like that, misrepresent it.
Yeah. People obviously are trying to. There's been some behind the scenes like supposed leaks, and people are trying to extrapolate from this, you know. But like stuff about what Nintendo's doing. But I think the bottom line is that Nintendo has always. I don't want to take too long on this, obviously. But bottom line is Nintendo has always made their stance, especially Sakurai, the creator of Smash Brothers, has made their stance clear about how they view what Smash Brothers is. It is not a game. It is not a game that is meant to be classified as esports. It is a game for everyone. It is one of the most popular gaming series out there. It blows away any other quote unquote fighting game in sales by
huge margin.
By the universe. Yeah, it's ridiculous how much more it sells in it. They are not going to jeopardize that by having a community reclassify the game and they don't want it to be normalized. They don't want it to become the normal way to experience Smash Brothers is to be a competitive game. And if you're not playing it at a competitive level and comparing about competitive balance and all this tournament stuff, you aren't really part of Smash, and they don't want that. And they will, as long as Sakurai is there, it will probably never be like that. So
I don't even read it that way. Like, to me, this is hard stance piracy.
Nintendo. No. I wasn't saying about this. I'm saying people are trying to but trends in the past. There've been reports about Nintendo trying to, or people trying to work with Nintendo to organize Smash tournaments for up to years ago, dating back to MLG days. And why Nintendo just never bites on any of this and ghosts a lot of people and says no. And it's it's because their stance. They really don't want to do this. Also, personally, you probably should stop. I think you should stop blaming Nintendo of America for a lot of this stuff. They can't simply override Japan and Sakurai's direction. If they are saying what needs to be done, there's only so much they can work with. There's so many stories from Capcom USA about the frustrations they've experienced working with Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 and having to work with the Japanese side about they wanted to do stuff and they just couldn't. There's legendary stories about Seth Killian fighting with the Japanese side about just the recent Ultimate Marvel Lives tournament that was just Maximilian Dude held. Tasty Steven Yipes were talking about Seth Killian having to fight to keep Magneto in there and Storm in Marvel 3 because Japan didn't want them. There's always going to be a little bit of a give and take and arguments, but at the end of the day, because Japan is the parent company, what they say goes. If Doug Bowser were to get out there to go, we officially are going to make Smash Brothers a professional tournament. We're going to sign with Twitch. We're going to sign with these esports leagues. But Nintendo said no. He'd be fired next. He'd be out of there. It doesn't matter who you are at Nintendo, how high ranking. You can't go against what they say, man.
Yeah. Well, but the same kind of thing goes back to the piracy type issues, right? They can't have a high profile tournament using this unauthorized version of the game.
Absolutely not. They would,
You know, and they're basically saying like, oh yeah, Nintendo's okay with you guys pirating as long as you do it in whatever beneficial.
Ethically.
Like no, like
Right.
Yeah, there's
and
so
you're talking
many problems
about
with that.
again going back to talking about Japan on these issues. Like Japan is the land where like, you know, all the boxes. You know, I don't know if this is still the case because it probably isn't relevant anymore.
Yeah,
But
I know what you're
anytime you
saying.
imported a game, like I said, you cannot rent this. Like this has to be. This can only be used in Japan, and you cannot rent this game.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sale
mention-
and use only in
Yeah,
Japan.
not to mention they didn't want some fan mod making Melee's online look amazing and an Ultimate's online looking like trash. Like they will not let that
actually
happen
very
either.
true.
Like
Very-
that's
yeah, very
there's
true.
there's so many reasons. We can move
Nintendo
on
would
obviously, but yeah, it's the way it is. This always comes up every year about why Nintendo doesn't do more, and it's like this is how
I feel
it
like the
is.
Melee community's been like fighting forever.
Yeah,
stuff.
I feel for them. I understand the frustration, man, but it's not gonna happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they just, like I was saying, I think there's like some issues where there's definitely a headache and there's definitely a reason to push back on Nintendo, like just organizing general in-person tournaments. But as soon as you start getting into modding the games, it's like I don't know what you expect. Like Nintendo's not budging.
Good takes. Thank you. He beat you to it, Brad. Twitch streamer Distortion opened the secret door in Demon's Souls and
I
found
watched it live.
and found the penetrator armor.
Nice.
I watched it live. I watched Distortion. Yeah, I've been watching him for years.
Nice. So only he gets this armor, or does can anybody?
No,
get
he
it?
just figured out he got the item to do it.
Got
the
it, okay.
items to do it.
Right.
A lot of hidden coins, Domani, like Shadow
like
of the
a
Colossus.
currency.
Oh,
to
it was
collect, yeah.
basically that.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Had to use fractured mode to find a lot of them.
Fractured mode.
Yeah,
I don't
people
know
are.
Demon's Souls.
Somebody just
It's
speedrunner just beat
mirror
Demon's
mode.
Souls in 20 minutes. People are.
Oh
finding
yeah,
all
dude,
sorts of ways to
faster than that.
crack open that game. The new Grand Theft Auto Online update is called Cayo Perico. It is its own heist. It is on its own island. First time land has been added to the game. You can play it solo, which is a big deal.
That is cool.
Previously, heists were extremely expensive, and you had to get a bunch of people in on it, which is why I've never finished all of them. I've done a couple heist missions, but never done one. And it comes with a submarine. You get your very own
that's
submarine.
fun.
Nice.
Not just a little one-person submersible. Like Hunt for Red October. Your
That
entire
is
crew is inside the sub.
Oh man.
I don't know if you can actually steer it around or if it's just like a thing you load into and then like, oh yeah, we're in the sub, but it's pretty cool. Mike Laidlaw, the creative director of the Dragon Age series, created indie studio Yellow Brick Games. No news on, I believe, they had 3 other guys that came on that team with him, but primarily he was the big name attached there. Korean baseball team, the NC Dinos, NC meaning NC Soft, which is their company
okay.
that owns
Yeah.
that, celebrated their championship series with a sword from Lineage.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Big bejeweled Lineage sword.
That's so funny.
Which is so badass. Fortnite's getting a $12 subscription service called Fortnite Crew, which I can't believe it hasn't had. How did it take this long for Fortnite to do that? Such a Fortnite
Yeah, I
thing
guess,
to do.
yeah.
Sweden soccer pro Zlatan Ibrahimovic found out that he's in FIFA and was like, hey, what? How does it work? And like other soccer players were like, yeah. Shouldn't we get paid? And it's like, no, that's not how it works. It's like Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA pays FIF Pro, I believe that is the name of the company, and then they get the license for all the sports teams, and they can do whatever they want. Like you
Call your agents, guys.
you work, yeah. It's just
I'm not gonna pretend to know anything about that whole.
it's so wholesome. He got so angry on Twitter.
Hey, what am I doing in
Hey,
here?
wait a minute. Like, you are the only sports person to ever figure that out.
Yeah.
Welcome to video games. The Hugo Awards Sci-Fi Literary Awards ceremony is adding Best Video Game just this year. They're like, we're not doing it again. We're only doing it for this year.
One time.
Yeah, just one time. Enjoy it while you get it. But obviously, they hand out a lot of writing awards, and so a lot of writers are like, oh, come on. This would be a big thing for you. And obviously, as hopefully in our case, will probably turn a lot of eyeballs toward the Hugo Awards. Red Dead Online is getting released as its own standalone game on December 1st.
Very
It's
interesting.
$5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
really cheap.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
curious-
cool.
Curious to see how well that does for them. How many more people sign on to Red Dead Online? I don't know if that was the barrier. A lot of people think that Red Dead Redemption 2 looks like a horrible game, but that Red Dead Online, curious about. Rainbow Six Siege is coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X on December 1st as well. Monster Hunter Iceborne is getting Monster Hunter World Iceborne is getting a limited time movie based event starting December 4th. Yay?
thought you were gonna say starring Mia Jovovich.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think she's like in the thing. I'm not even kidding. I think.
There's a couple of quests, and Ben was bemoaning the which, I forget which one it was, but yeah, it's like
Black Diablos, I think. It's tough.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah.
And Mortal Kombat 11 is getting 3 skins based on the 1995 movie. Raiden,
really cool.
Sonya, and Johnny.
I think it has
Love
some
that.
of the VO too.
Yeah, the original voice actors like
Yeah, that's really cool.
Everything. Yeah, Lambert coming back.
Yeah.
Too. I don't know if they got samples or if he re-recorded, but such a weird Raiden, and tempting to go back and check out Mortal Kombat 11, but lots to play.
That movie.
I mean, the guy that did Shang Tsung the movies is like Shang Tsung in the games now,
Yeah.
so
which is awesome. It like works.
Handful of people
Full
on
circle.
a leaky boat are gonna save the world.
it is time for Love and Respect.
Love and respect.
From North Star Ken on Patreon. Happy Thanksgiving, allies! Since myself and many others are unable to find the next-gen consoles, I currently have been finding it difficult to follow many of my favorite game journalists and streamers, because I do not want to be spoiled. Panel, how do you personally deal with FOMO, and what advice can you offer? Love and respect, North Star Ken. Fear of missing out. How do you deal?
FOMO.
When Brad told me, when he messaged me, and he was like, hey, I beat Miles Morales if you need help with the review, and I was like, thanks, Brad.
I was being nice.
You were being very, very nice. But I got a little bit. I got a little sting.
Well, I knew you were going to play
A
it.
little sting of FOMO. Yeah, I can't complain. How do you deal?
I would just stay off like the internet. I wouldn't even look at any of that stuff. I'd play the games, man, that I got.
Yeah. I've got so many games to try to play. But yeah, I mean,
Just know
it would
you'll get it
definitely be
eventually.
it would definitely be hard if I hadn't been able to get any of them. So definitely see where they're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually, yeah, that's that nightmare of
It
trying
sucks.
to get these things. If you didn't luck out in the first wave, you're trying it over and over again. That's just demoralizing. I can definitely understand the people that are just gonna wait until they're more readily available.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Does seem like more recently though there have been getting a little bit more inventory in the last few days, so maybe now. I don't know. Yeah, try and I don't know.
Nobody's
try to
got
stay-
answers?
Stay positive. Like, know you'll eventually get it. Jones,
Yeah.
there is no easy answer you could say.
Well, I
to
think the
something
problem
like this.
is like a lot of the advice I do is like we're in the middle of freaking COVID and shit. It's like I can't. Yeah, you
Time
can't
to start an
can't do
MMO.
that. Yeah,
There you go.
There you go.
You'll be
Well,
busy for a while.
Shadowlands, yeah.
start a research group. Do some research.
Yeah, do some research.
Do some
yeah,
research.
Damiani. Do your own study.
Get money, and then they might send you a PlayStation 5. So you need to do research on
Yeah,
PS5. There you go.
Wow, Shadowlands, Brad. Kind of tempting. No weird near
Yeah,
tempting enough.
It's
but
been fun.
seeing-
I've played some.
I'm seeing people post some screenshots and stuff.
I've been having a good time.
MMOs, am I right? I was trying to think, Damiani. I was like, oh, it's so nice you got me the Xbox Series X. And then I remembered, I did get you that blue carbuncle one time at Comic-Con. So,
Hey,
and
return the
a
favor.
yellow carbuncle.
and the yellow carbuncle, yeah. Waited in line for that one.
Oh.
Admittedly, it was not a long line. Corey Swafford, hey allies, Bluepoint Games remade a PlayStation 2 game for PlayStation 4. More recently, they remade a PlayStation 3 game for PlayStation 5. If this pattern continues, can we expect to see Bluepoint's remake a PlayStation 4 game for PlayStation 6? So my question is this: which PlayStation 4 game would you like to see
Bloodborne.
Bluepoint
You already
remake
know-
on
yeah, you already know
PlayStation
the
6?
answer.
Bonus points
Bloodborne.
for answers that aren't Bloodborne. Love and respect, Corey.
Aren't Bloodborne.
So PS4 game for PS6.
I just don't see
that
Bloodborne
actually
as like a
would- that
hungry
actually would
remake game. It's
benefit
like,
from
yeah,
it.
can we make this game look good for a change? Like, what a gorgeous
Well,
game.
could you make
Like,
it run good for a change?
there you
Then
go.
yes.
Okay. PS4 game.
PS4 game.
I mean, yeah, in a game that I feel like sticking to an exclusive might be. I don't know, because like games that'd be obvious because they've done God of War, they've done Metal Gear, so maybe Metal Gear Solid 5, but
Right.
I really don't know if those
Oh
are.
shit. MGS5.
Yeah, God of War 2018, like doing a, but I mean that feels like so soon. Like I feel
Oh.
like it needs to be at the
Silent
beginning.
Hills.
It needs to be at the
Silent
beginning of the
Yeah.
the.
I'll have them remake Horizon.
Oh,
I think they can make it look real nice and
Ryzen.
real nice. Yeah.
Or MGS5 just add all that content.
I mean,
Add the ending.
we
They
know
don't
those,
add.
we know those scripts.
did
are
we
somewhere.
say
They
Last
add tiny
Guardians?
No, that is a funny one though. They might as well,
There you
Damiani.
go. Last
Yeah.
Guardians.
Yeah,
They got experience.
ready to go.
I would love to. I mean, on a personal level, I just looked it up. So I was looking at games. Gravity Rush 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, 1
Yeah.
and 2, because they did the
Gravity Rush was already
remaster, right?
remastered for PS4 because it was a
Make
Vita
'em both.
game. But
Or
yeah,
make
I
'em
take
both.
both. Well, I mean, okay. Well, I won't say anything more.
Again.
Because you played 2 in one day. Yeah, I feel like that. I don't know. Is there will Uncharted 4 need to be remade? I don't know. These games don't seem like they're so dated.
Shit,
Right,
you can
right.
make Dark Souls 3.
Yeah,
Do it again.
you got to go into the future. 10, like 7, 8, 9 years in the future.
Sekiro.
When
You
we're
can
getting
remake that
PS6
too. Just
stuff.
remake every From Software game and I'll be
Just
happy.
remaking everything.
From Walter Avila. Remember when Overwatch 2 was announced? I just remembered yesterday.
Yeah. That was like last BlizzCon.
Yeah,
And it was leaked before that.
yeah.
BlizzCon's in February this year? So we'll probably see it again.
January, February, something like that. I forget.
Yeah.
Virtual.
Yeah, we'll see it.
That's some confidence. So you don't think if you're Blizzard, you're like, why rush? Well, why?
Oh, they're saving everything for
Yeah.
BlizzCon. They can save that. They'll be fine. They're just releasing Shadowlands. WoW Classics still releasing stuff. They got time.
Any expectations there? We haven't really talked about Overwatch 2 specifically.
I don't know.
Is there
It's a
anything-
good question. There's like
Because it's not only like when are we going to find out more about this game? It's like what are you selling me here? What exactly?
yeah, it's very
is this?
confusing how they sold it originally.
Yeah.
And will
It's like if you don't
There was like a campaign and stuff.
and they were like, you don't have to buy this. You can still play with people in Overwatch 2 if you have Overwatch 1. But there was like a campaign. I think it was co-op. So, yeah, I'm still very confused.
Will it impact Overwatch League or anything like that? Will
I
they?
don't know, man.
Yeah, like all these.
I assume they'll move on to Overwatch 2 if they do it for the League.
Yeah.
I can't see them promoting Overwatch 1.
From the champ. Mortal Kombat 11 has been killing it with its additional content. The skins from the first movie are awesome, and if the leaks are true, and they appear to be, the content coming up is going to blow some people's minds. My question to everyone, if you could replace an MK character with your voice and likeness, which character would you replace? Also for fun, what would be some of your intro dialogue win quotes? If you want to have even more fun, describe your fatality and or friendship. Maybe the YouTube gods would put the hammer down if you describe fatality,
much.
so it's up to you. Love and respect.
So you replace a character?
You replace the likeness of the character. So again, these
Oh.
skins that are added, it's still Raiden. So the abilities and everything, but it just looks like Christopher Lambert.
Oh.
Where,
Man, who's like the stupidest Mortal Kombat character?
Yeah. Who are like the?
That's who
the
I'd want to
dumb-
replace. I don't know. I would give up my spot and have Ben replace Shinnok because I know he's a huge Shinnok fan. I'd be willing to make that trade.
That's very, very gracious of you, Brad. I appreciate that. I obviously would want to do Johnny Cage. I wouldn't want anything new. I would just
You
read
already
all, I
are
would just
Johnny
read all of
Cage. You don't need
his
to do
stuff.
that.
I'm gonna.
Right.
Not
Yeah,
ex-
it's
I'm not
funny, like-
I'm not that into sunglasses though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I want to be Shao Kahn.
Okay.
I want to play Shao Kahn. Get rid of that stupid helmet and put my head on there. And when I walk out, it's gonna be like it's hammer time. It's carrying that
Okay.
big
It's
ass
hammer
hammer
time,
and stuff.
dude.
And when people fall down, be like, "Don't trip, don't trip, don't trip." Like sweep kicks and shit. I'm just gonna like say that over and over again. The most annoying shit.
Raiden is definitely my go-to.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Blood
Oh,
is
shit.
Raiden. Yeah, that would be a good one.
I think that's a Halloween costume you've just, rejected every year
Sure.
for no good reason. Especially in the Zoom era. It's a hat.
Well,
it's literally a hat and you're done.
It's a hat. Well, you need the wig. Otherwise, it's just a hat.
Yeah.
You just get some baby powder.
And potentially, I don't know. Do you need to convincingly do Raiden? Do you need like white contacts or something? No.
Dude, make me Kodo Khan. I'd be totally all about being that Aztec sun god.
This is too funny because it was something from last week that I'm so upset I didn't pick up. And Conrad Croncio did pick it up. Dear allies, I have a silly game for you. On last week's episode, I misheard and thought Brad said Tales of Suspiria.
Suspiria?
If you know Suspiria.
No.
It's a very,
That's
very
weird.
bizarre horror film
Oh.
during the console sales segment. And this inspired me to make a game of mash it or trash it. The rules are simple. You're all working with greenlighting new titles. I will mash together a game and a movie title, and it's up to the panel to decide to give it the green light, mash it or trash it. It could be either a game or a movie, or both. Thank you for all the fun you bring to my life. Love and respect, Conrad, a.k.a. Catalito. Here we go. Kicking it off. Tales of Suspiria. A horror Tales game. A very Dario Argento, very strange.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Jones, what any of that means. But if it's a Japanese RPG like Tales, then that sounds weird, and I'm in.
I know Ian knows who Dario Argento is. I wonder if Huber, if that's a name he's familiar with.
Of course. Yeah, mash it.
Mash it.
Mash it, do it. Great.
Mash it.
Horizon Fury Road.
Yo, mash it.
Mash it.
Cool. God of Office Space.
Dude, mash it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, these are all really
Kratos
easy.
working in an office.
Double mash it immediately. Fast smash it.
They've made those memes. I mean,
I feel like, you know, since I've been playing Control again, like I feel like that's what that would look like. Just the papers flying everywhere and broken desks and.
No, it's not even that. It's like him actually being a very nice person and just working in office respectfully, just like the face paint on, just answering emails.
Yeah, like all the
Bring your
office
son to
people are
work
scaring him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wears a tie but not a shirt.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it.
Persona Requiem for a Dream.
Oh God.
Trash it.
Can we trash one?
that.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let's trash it,
I'm gonna
dude.
trash
That sounds depressing.
BioShock Inception.
Trash
Kind
it.
of already is, so yeah, it's not much.
Trash
of a
it.
leap.
Too
Trash
confusing.
that.
BioShock doesn't need to be more confusing than it
Dream,
is.
dude.
Resident Alone.
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 Resident
Alone in the dark.
Home Alone. Resident
Home
Alone.
Oh, yeah,
my
dude.
gosh.
Home
Mash
Alone
it.
Oh my
graphic
gosh,
and zombies
mash
could be
it.
funny as heck.
Kevin
A little
McAllister.
kid going against zombies, but you gotta
is my
set
home.
up
But like
Mash
Jones,
it.
like
so
Resident Evil 7
Marvin
tone,
Harry or zombies.
but you're
like,
just Kevin in it. Yeah.
you're little Leon and like
Yeah.
kid Leon.
Now, I don't know, because you think zombies right away. Kevin McAllister v. Wesker would be really, really cool.
I mean, yeah, Kevin McAllister grows up to be Jigsaw, so you know, going up to be Wesker, yeah, it could be alternate timeline.
Is that lore?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Hitman Adaptation. Do you remember Adaptation?
No.
This is
I forget adaptations.
Very vaguely.
Nicolas Cage playing himself and his brother.
I'm not seeing it.
Very
Trash
yeah.
it.
If you don't know it, yeah, ditch it. Hello Neighbor Totoro.
Hello.
man.
trash
What's the first
that.
part?
That's bad
Wait,
vibes.
You got to
That's
sneak
bad
into.
vibes.
You
Wait,
got to
what's
sneak
the
in.
game being meshed with it?
Hello Neighbor.
Hello,
Hello,
neighbor.
neighbor.
You got to stealth into Totoro's tree, you know, and he's just
No.
he's around doing. All right, I tried.
They won't buy
Trash
that.
it.
Yeah, they won't go.
Raiders
for
of
that.
the Last of Us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I'm in, baby.
Anything for an indie game for me.
Dude,
I'm-
Indiana Jones killing zombies? You're not into that? What's wrong with you guys? Jones, what's going on?
way
We've seen
too
Indiana
dark
Jones.
for
I
that
hate
seems
these
way
guys.
too dark for Indiana.
What are you talking about,
Jones.
dumb man? People's faces get melted off
dude.
in Indiana
Yeah, but
Jones.
that's like dumb. That's
Temple
dumb
of Doom
80s action.
invented the
That's not-
PG-13
that's not-
rating.
Yeah, man.
It does not take itself too seriously.
So okay, you can have The Last of Us Enemy Zone style gameplay, just the Indiana Jones tone, Damiani. You can still have the goofy death then.
I feel like the only way to pull off comedy with that is like what you did with like Shaun of the Dead or whatever. Like you got to
Sure.
do
Right.
that type of comedy. I don't know.
Indie comedy is very light, though. I always refer to Indie and the Indiana Jones series as like how to do comedy. Last Crusade actually kind of tips a little bit over,
Right.
Like you know,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Harrison
I
Ford,
know the
man.
way. You know,
It's
the
like him in
Raiders-
Star Wars. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and finally, just in time for Blood's new graphics card, Tales from the Control.
Tales from the
oh,
Like a-
from the crypt? Tales from the Crypt?
No,
Yes.
Tales of... Oh,
I think it's because Tales of Suspiria was our first one. This would be, I believe, Tales from the Crypt, which is
sure.
there are at least 2 movies that I know of.
so is like the Crypt Keeper the director in Control or something?
Sure.
Do you play as the Crypt Keeper with the gun? Holy shit, yeah, dude. Oh my
the
god.
one-liners that would after
Yeah.
you kill everybody. Oh my god.
Yes.
It
Oh
is
man.
time. Oop. You like it?
Sure, mash it.
Nice, thank you for that.
That's a movie and a game, Jones. You get both with that.
Yep. And a book for kids. Lock it in.
Pop-up book.
It's time for bets. Next week's bet. On December 1st, Galactus will be coming to Fortnite. And something that I hope is cool, and I hope inspires Marvel to do more things like that.
You know, Control and Twilight Zone would go together real good.
Control is Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
Control's
it
X-Files.
already is.
It's X-Files and Twilight Zone. It's all that stuff that I watched. Galactus is coming to Fortnite on December 1st. When the device went off in Fortnite, 2.3 million viewers watched that, which I believe is the current Twitch record, but at least if it's not, it can give you a sense of how much that was. I want to know how many people are going to watch this Galactus thing. What will be Twitch at its peak during that Galactus event? Brad Ellis, what's your bet?
1.7 mil.
Michael Damiani.
No, I went 1.5 mil.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Daniel Bloodworth.
I'm in the middle. 1.6.
Okay.
What's happening here, dude?
Let's hope we
Jones
win big.
locked
1.9. 1.9.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
Wow, this is
Tense
close.
bet.
We will see. Do you want a tense bet? I got my Nintendo Switch right here for this tense bet to check it. Last
Check
week's
the
bet,
drift.
Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity launched on November 20th. I'm going to check the Nintendo eShop right now. And I want to know where it's going to be on the featured list. Not the best-selling list, not the newest list, the featured list.
Oh.
Daniel Bloodworth bet 2. Ben Moore and Brad Ellis both bet 1. I, like a complete idiot, bet 6. Just in case.
No.
Because I figured you'd be smart, Blood, and you'd probably bet high.
They're in the middle of Black Friday stuff. Maybe they're even featuring on the feature stuff.
It was 2 this morning. I checked this morning and it was 2. But of
And?
course it's the number 1 slot. Of
Number
course it's the
one.
That's
number
right. You always
crap.
bet on Zelda. Always.
one. But Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was 20% off in the store, so that's why it was featured. It was number 1. And gosh darn it.
They are doing a bunch of Black Friday stuff. I saw Nintendo
Yeah,
sent like
yeah.
this thing with like all these games discounted, but then the table and the email was messed up, so they're like shifted off. I'm like, I don't know which game is which discount.
Yeah.
Which brings our scores to Jovial Penguins 20.
Wah, wah.
Astonished Scorpions 16.
Ooh,
Now, here's
down
the
by
thing.
4.
I know. Well,
Ooh.
down and potentially out, but we do
We
have
can get 2 points at any time. yeah.
right. Again, there's that intelligence that I just referred to a few seconds ago, Bloodworth, that sometimes helps our team win. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like we won't know, I think at the end of the next podcast, if we don't bet on the same thing, if we don't know that we could
Okay.
potentially win, if that can't happen, I'll do the math on it, but
Yeah,
we could be
gonna have
down
to
and
do that
out.
math.
We got to perform like we've never performed before to win the year, which I can't even remember the last time I won a year on this podcast, but whatever. It's fun to moderate at least. Let me tell you about patreon.com/easyallies. You know what it is? It's the last podcast of the month, and every time we do the last podcast of the month, we thank all of our patrons at the podcast producer tier and beyond. So a shout out to all of those people at the podcast producer tier. It's funny, Ben was not remembering the Q&A tier, but the Q&A tier's got to be 20 because the producer tier is 25 because that's where I stop when I get that list of names. I read off all of the names for people that are at that tier or above. Obviously, we appreciate all of our patrons. For just $1, you can get a bunch of exclusive shows. But if you stay tuned and you want to hear me read a bunch of crazy names, then you could listen to the podcast. Those are all of the wonderful people, 25 and above, on patreon.com/easyallies that support us. And thank you to them, but we reserve the shout-outs specifically to 4 wonderful people that are at our very top tier on Patreon. Blood, you are going first. I'm going after you. Brad, you are number 3. And Damiani, you are going last but not least. Shout out to Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Fanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, and Nick.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Very clean. Astonished Scorpions, you get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word or
Wait,
anything.
no, that's-
Jovial
that's
Penguins.
us.
Who's astonished?
You just
You're-
you
Yeah.
You got to say the winning team, Jones.
Brad Jones.
winning team.
Winning team.
Trash it.
I've already renounced our team, Blood.
Oh boy.
That's where I'm at. Jovial Penguins, You get to promote any Easy Allies video you'd like to promote. You get the final word on anything you've disagreed with, want to reiterate, or just popped in your head, and you get to sign off with your trademark sign-off. Damiani, you're borrowing a bet from last week, so Brad, I'm going to give you 2 of these. What do you want?
Oh, shoot. Video promote, final word.
Nice. So you get... so you get the sign-off there, Damiani, so take it away, Brad.
Check out my review of Sackboy Big Adventure. Just went up yesterday. Had a lot of fun playing that game. Check it out, dude. Think it's a little underrated. It's a good time, especially you got people you can play with. Final word is always bet on Zelda. Believe in Zelda always, and you'll be a winner.
And may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
That's a customer service call. Like that, you can't keep going with that. That's nuts.
Ray tracing.
The Easy Allies would like to thank our Patreon podcast producers. We apologize in advance for all the ally names we are about to misspell and mispronounce. Caleb Togi Crawford, L. Thanis, Greg the Dark Knight Kettering, Nick, Walker Hope, Mark Dalga, Will Schmuck, Sigma, Robert Stoffel, Zachary Wingate, Thomas Wigginton Jr., Dave Red, Paulo Costabel, Discarded Digit, Ali Cat, Damnable Nook, Happy Gaming, Miguel Rivas, Valmar, Blue Water Blue Sky, Daniel Portillo, Jose Gutierrez, Alex AI, Rob Bob Will, Beaten Down Brian, Chum Nguyen, Roy Sung, Lakota 1010, Yasser Kerbushi, Bradley Spees, Hayden Hargraves, Jesse Blue, Nicholas Johnson, Jesper Lawson, Douglas Chomitz, Jay Shee, Justin Moore, G. Levin, Matthew Pauling, G. Ken, Gary James, The Banana Forklift Killer, Marcel Markov, Catherine Lai, Todd Yurkovic, Candy Coated Thorns, Hitman 47, Rack, Matthew Holcomb, Oni Blackmage, Niz Klojgard, Jordan Kirk, James Vitt, Sam Handrick, Stephen Thomason, Robert Crouch, Luke Bennett, John Burns, S-Snake24, Mango, Richard Johnston, Mark J. Betters II, Adam Henry, Brad Grenz, Andrew Stoke, Jake Musser, Eric Crone, Jan Tyson, Danny Vlar, Daniel Dupree, DRD 7 of 14, Sabine T, Charles Anthony Iapicino, Samsa Stormbaum, Marble Match, Justin Chang, Sage Mode Q, Maceface, Jif W52, Gabriel Johansson, Stepan Hakobian, Ryan Anderson, Christopher Santos, Strikeout NZ, David Boyarsky, Faraz Rizvi, Pete Shoemaker, Reed Johnson, Manuel Thomas, Michelle Nubb, Mikey Mizek Novak, Alex Monaco, Paul Bishop, Marco Hernandez, Daniel Wong, V. Kira Ray, Don Turner, Sebastian Urban, Eddie Reisner, Sebastian Trier, Adam Scherenbrock, Azazel Valkyrie, Junya Motomura, Ivan Ponce, Tuttle, Joshua Vanswall, Tense George, Colin Hoylman, Barry, Cyberboa, Forrest, Eric Maynard, Chase Caldwell, Isun Chor, Leon Keys, Chris the Pianist, Ian Anderson, Philip Higdon, Nycrypt, Jai Aldiar, Robert I, C.S. Lewis, Ahmed Al-Rashed, Bonnie and Jason Connor, Travis Miosi, Mike Calvi, Alex Glass, The Fatty Show, DanPan16, Wouter DeHaze, Malcolm Moschette, William Heaney, Not Jack, Mithers Strongbeard, Jana, Anthony Galvin, V8 Dave, Oru Gacchino, Dakota Hayes, The Classiest Hobo, Misuki 211, Matt Karwoski, Liam Ahern, Bunny Chen, Materia Addict, Arthur Henrique Chinaglia, Culinary Stud, Edison S. Prada Jr., Tim Mann, Crediar, Mauricio Fuentes, Jesse Fish, Gabriel Aberg, Zahid Hosseini Karami, Lee Young, Alexander Zirianov, Morpheus, Christian Hundorf, Brian Foster, Sean Cornett, Linson Wu, General Piet, Matthew Migler, Brandon White, Christophe Fatui, Michael Clendenan, Aurelien Grenier, Eric Gustafson, Trevor Thomas, Michael Kozachenko, Adam Lindsay, Corey Landega, Pablo Rodriguez, Alec Church, Ibrahim Sozer, Carl Williams, Gustav Strombaum, Volker Bach, Russell Bateman, Lindsay Wells, Jason I, Nefertiti Jenkins, Jesse Fatelli, Jonathan and Amy Alconis, Quinn Riley, JC3, Paul Nolson, Isaac Swanson, Jameson Lapine, Max His Shame Turman, Breadroll Art, Matt Ford, Joey Din, Splontot, Jordan Phillips, Ryan Wagner, Matthias Clare, Spencer Stevens, Jeffrey Murillo, Trizac, Matt Ferguson, Sam Sorensen, Vincent Foliat, Paul Sway, Michael Baloney, Michael Pliskin, Andy Marks, Tim Strothman, XWF Outlaw, Julius Garcia, Alex Lavanier, Ritz 1906, Joel Short, Dimitri Zetas, Mazrim Tame, Helen Y, Noah Weinstein, Travis Kakowski, Megadet, Sneaky Gato, W. Crusher, Line Crown 19, Tom Masterman, Jojo Denko, ZK, Jose Carlos Madrigal, Mr. Anarchy, Thomas Blaze Fauchereau, Andreas Risberg, Dreams of Caffeine, Michael Bisegli, Matthew Holmes, Alexander McEachern, Kodiak Bear 88, Lars Berger, Marcel Giru 17 Froelich, Erdney Kutnow, Megan McDonough, Glenn Olson, Corey Jackson, Natabia Ross, Allison Burt, Jesse Wilkeson, Katie Garza, Jeffrey Ruchtenwald, Dan Sebring, James Davey, Neil Bruce, Silent Consonant, Craig Happ, Travis Ing, Cody Westley, Cisco Ace Jackson Garcia, Kroldemort, Jeremy Ferris, Clay Roberts, Super 3D Cow, Ahab, Mick Roper, Accounts Payable, Tristan Howard, John Gallagher, Willow Pingree, Andrew Reif, Mikhail Aniel, Blue, Matthew Eden, A Filthy Lot, Neuromood, Mike Hook 1, Miguel, Retroidvania, Delisi, Ethereal Ether, Mo Grant, Roy Eschke, Nick Waterman, Fishflop, David Wilson, Maverick Lee Back, David Wen, Tim O'Keefe, John Robertson, Harrison Holt McHale, Shut Up Victor, Blake Bonsack, Bryce Hornsby, Toasty Soul, Jethrin, Hadi Ali, Gon Kef, Jack Cullen, Espen Gotchman, Jad Rita, Chief Uhu, Brian Fuller, Matthew T. Ryan, Toad Shadow, Luis Ibarra, Monica, Malianware, Alton O'Connell, T-Beaks 15, Ulf himself, Bjornar Haraldsvik.